In the last lesson, we built out the navigation bar and we saw that we used display block. And essentially what display block is, it gives it the properties that a div would typically have. Now we can also flip this around where we could do a display inline. So this would give it the same properties as you would typically find when you're doing a span. So inline would keep them all in line with each other. So if I removed out this left here, it essentially, and if I remove this out, so we do have another option here when we do our display. So we can do a display block, and I'll show you what happens now. So we take up the full width. We do have an option to display inline. So that's going to display it inline with the rest of the content there. So it's moving it up and it's not allowing it to take that full available styling. And also, in addition, we have another option where we have inline block. And what this is doing is this is a mix between the two, where we've got that block styling available to us, but we're still inline as well. Because we already have these list items, already have block values to it, if I was to move this inline block, we see that whenever we're applying inline block there, or even if we're applying inline, all of the elements line up. So this is what we do with display. We can set up how it would typically display itself. We could use inline and so on. So I'm going to switch this back, and sometimes you do see that navigation bars are created with inline block. So you can do this as well, where you can transform the list items to be inline block and handle it in that way as well. So I'm going to just flip this back, and there's also one more. So this was originally float left. So different ways to essentially accomplish similar type of actions within your web page. So another thing that we have whenever we do display, we can also display or display none. And what none does is it simply hides it. So it's like it's not there, it's removed from view, from visibility. And keeping in mind that this is different than when you do visibility, because if you do visibility to hidden, it's still going to reserve out that space there. So we see that the visibility hidden reserves out that space of those blocks, but it's so it still keeps that in reserve, but we don't see it. If we do display none, then we don't see it at all. And if we do display block, then it allows us to take that full block spacing that's allocated to that element. In the next lesson, we're going to take a look at overflow and how that works with the various elements on our HTML page.